want to get you guys into a concept called linkage. When the five of us were studying, or you guys were studying with me, I used to talk about a concept of actors are like homicide detectives, and this is your case file, okay? Which I think is great advice, okay? I want you to start to think differently. And when I started looking over, hey, there's linkage to all these things, and I'll talk about the linkage with this play and then other plays after. I don't want you to think, okay, there's the point. I don't want you to think this is the plane. I want you to start to link these plays together, these playwrights together, because they all are influenced by each other. And the more you can do that linkage, the quicker you can come to decisions about what the play is about, the bigger advantage you will have over other actors. Okay? Just as simple as thing about linkage, because there's linkage in everything. When I started looking at this, I said, "Wow, man, this is a great concept." on a linkage on dancers, Michael Jackson is who? Dance-wise.
James.
What?
James Brown.
James Brown. Who else? That was one of his first guys. He's also Jackie Wilson. And then when you ever see the Motown 25, Motown 35 show? We did the moonwalk? Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you remember how he started? He started, and the audience gasped. He did that thing on his toes, where he rises up on his toes and does the hat, at that, and then he does the hat and does that. My uncle used to work with Michael Jackson. I called him right up, and I said, "Does this guy watch Fred Astaire?" He says, "He locks himself in a room every Sunday, and for 7 hours, he's learned every move Fred Astaire has done." That's linkage. You talk about, anybody jazz fan, Miles Davis? Mm-hmm. Okay. Miles Davis in the 50s was really, as young musicians are, was really impressed by techno. Dizzy Gillespie was the best techno player at the time, so he became Dizzy Gillespie. And then a guy named Clifford Brown came around, who was more melodic, also technically proficient. He got Clifford Brown down, and then when Miles Davis really found his own voice, he went back to the 20s and listened to a white guy from Oklahoma named Bix Beiderbecke, who hardly played more than 3 notes a bar. And that's when he really became, again, linkage. Marlon Brando is who? Who are the links to Marlon Brando? The first link I can think of is John Garfield. Okay. John Garfield was the first rebel hero. The next one was Montgomery Clift. And I'm sure Brando was aware of these guys. I'm not saying he imitated them, but if you didn't have those other 2 guys before him, the audience might not have gotten Brando. And then Brando arrived, and then what was the next extension for Brando? James Dean. Okay. It's all linked. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to show you how authors link together, and how if you can get that concept and not think that, okay, you know what I just thought? This is like, most actors think of like, okay, case file, they think on this one plane. What I'm going to try to give you in ways of analyzing this stuff is other actors are going to be like guys that think like this, they think like checkers. I want to get you thinking in terms of multi-dimensional chess. And if you can link different authors, you can start to do that. So we're going to do hopscotch. So like as far as like where you go with this scene, everything for you is the question that you ask and you can't get answered, right? Or the thing that you want to say. You want to talk about that girl from the moment you wake up, right? I think he might, I wanted to ask you something. And he goes, what? And because he's going to start crying, because if you can get that emotional connection to the whole thing, how do you avoid it? Well, I want to ask you about the toilet. What? Well, the tank. It takes too long to fill. What do you think that is? So you get yourself under control. All the rambling is about getting yourself under control, or letting the nervous energy out and getting yourself under control. Right? I love the choice you made physically about this guy, that he's not that bright. I love what you said to me when we were on the phone about this, and I actually found it in one of these analytical books. He said, these guys, are they the dumb waiters? I said, nah, you're getting too intellectual. And I'm reading a thing, it says, these two guys are dumb waiters. They're waiting for something and they're dumb. They don't question, okay? So I love what you did physically. When I was rehearsing to do this play was the great Stephen Garish, and John Lund was the director. And we didn't do it because I got Caddyshack and Stephen Garish got like a film with Robert Redford. You know, it was like one of the, Caddyshack was fun to do, but it was the biggest disappointment I ever had in my life because it's a great play. John, the director, he just couldn't, he said, you know, I can't even talk in English. He would say, you got the menace. I had the menace going down. He says, but you're not funny in the second half of the thing. He said, and guy read me like a book. And he said, don't you know anybody who is scary and funny in the same breath? And he was talking about another student of his, who was one of my best friends, Mike Finneran, who was the janitor on Night Court. You know, he's this little Irish guy, you know, kind of talks like this, and, you know, he says, well, follow Mike around, he's your neighbor. I just couldn't get him down, right? I just couldn't get Mike down. You know, I felt like I was doing an imitation. And then one day, I'm at his house, and you know how people have pets like themselves? And I look, and so, what about this? Listen to this. A man of 87 wanted to cross the road, see? But there was a lot of traffic, see? He couldn't see how he was going to squeeze through, so he crawled under a lorry. He crawled under a lorry, a stationary lorry. I saw Mike's pet. I said, this parrot is Mike. And as soon as I did an animal exercise, I did the whole animal, and then I started humanizing it, I got Mike. You know what I mean? So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can arrive at these characters. The audience is never going to know unless you kind of do it to such an extreme what caused you to do it. Make bold choices, you know, and go that way. You know, like Brando in Streetcar, he's doing an ape. And there's one moment when he leans down and opens up a drawer. And you say, oh my God, he's a friggin' ape. You know? Okay?